Hello, this video is for Absolute DevOps Roadmap, and you might be wondering how long it will take you to actually complete DevOps as a whole, as a concept, right? And for the Absolute DevOps Roadmap, it will take you 5 to 6 months to complete it with, serious learning and, you know, and dedicated practices to it. When you dedicate your time with focused learning, 5 to 6 months, you will complete the DevOps roadmap. And trust me, it will help you on the long run. So let me show you some of the tools and some of the things you need to focus on on this roadmap, right? All right, the first thing is the absolute basics of Linux. You need to study. You don't need to be a hardcore programmer to know these things, right? You must in this week, right? You must learn how the internet works. For example, the HTTP, the DNS, the IP. You must actually know the basic Linux terminal usage, right? And you know what this is what DevOps does, right? And because it entails you working on CI/CD automation and reliability and others, right? So you can actually work on this within 1 to 2 weeks. You learn the absolute basics, using Linux, you can use Ubuntu, which is quite popular, or other operating system as well. Secondly, secondly, um, you you can secondly you move to Linux with networking. Linux with networking, you can learn this within 3 to 4 weeks. This is non-negotiable. This is non-negotiable because it's very important in your DevOps journey. So you learn this, and in learning this, you must actually learn the file structure, the file system structure, and then the user and permission. You must learn the process and services. You must learn how logs works. You must learn the package manager, the SSM, the SSH, and others, right? And for the networking, you must learn, it is a must, right? You must learn the IP, the subnet, the gateway, the DNS, the ports and protocol, and others, right? And using the Linux, you can learn this using Linux, and also using the virtual box or VMware tools, right? So the next one is Git with GitHub, right? Git with GitHub, you can use 1 week, or like 1.5, or let's say one let me say 1 week and a half, right, to learn this. It depends on how your schedule is, or how you schedule your time, or how busy you are. And this is more like this is the easiest one in DevOps, right? It's quite easy, and the things you must learn in it is more like the Git basics, how to clone, how to add, how to commit, um how to push to repo, the branching, the pull requests, and other GitHub workflows. And using this tool, you can use Git and also GitHub. These are version control platforms, right? So GitHub is a version control platform, can, which is quite popular. We also use GitLab as well. And moving forward, the next one is scripting. You know, this is more like the automation core. When you want to automate tasks, or you want to, you don't need to be a software engineer, to actually learn this, right? So um, in this part, right, you must actually learn the bash scripting, which is very, very important, which is quite important, and also can learn the basics Python, which is quite optional, but it is very, very helpful. It will really help you a lot in automating tasks. And you know you can automate tasks with bash or Python. You can automate tasks like user creation, log cleanup, like service monitoring, and backups and others, right? So once you are done with this, you move to the next one, which is CI/CD. That's continuous integration, continuous delivery, or continuous deployment, right? We majorly use GitHub Actions and Jenkins. or Jenkins, right? Depends on it depends on the startup you work with, right? Which is important, right? So it is actually important that you know the tool using GitHub Action and Jenkins. So you can learn this within 2 to 3 weeks. Like I said, it depends on your schedule and how you can actually um, dedicate your time to it. And this is where you actually become like the official DevOps engineer, right? Because this is more like the art of DevOps, right? So this is more like the art of DevOps. So you will learn the CI/CD pipelines, what CI/CD pipelines are. You will learn how to build, how to test, how to deploy flows. You will learn webhook as well, right? So and GitHub Actions is more like the fastest in this like in 2025, 2026. People are startups are using it, and Jenkins also is still very very relevant. Startups are using it as well. So it is very important that you know these two tools. Moving forward, the next one is containerization or containers. You can call it containerization. So you can dedicate 2 weeks of your time to this because it's very, very, very important. It is very important. So containers are unavoidable. They are unavoidable as a DevOps engineer. You will always work on containerization. You always work on containers. And to use these tools right, you will use Docker Docker Compose as well. And then in learning it right, you must learn what the containers are. You must learn Docker files, images with containers, different between images and containers, the volumes and then network and a lot, which will really help you in your DevOps journey in becoming a very strong DevOps engineer. All right. So the next one is Kubernetes. Uh, next one is Kubernetes. We call it K8s. You see, once you see K8s, it means Kubernetes, right? So this is where most people can panic as well. Actually, this is where most people panic, but you don't need to panic, right? You just need to dedicate your time, and whenever you're learning, you have to settle down. You have to get settled. You don't need to rush or rush whichever tools you're learning. Don't rush them. Take them little by little, break them to smaller chunks, and then learn it. So in Kubernetes, right, you must actually learn what pods are, deployment services, the config mark and secrets, right? You must learn scaling as well in Kubernetes. So it is quite very very important. And also you can do some hands-on projects to deploy more like to deploy your Docker application to Kubernetes and to expose it publicly and so on, so which really help you in your DevOps journey. And the next one is the next one is cloud. This is very 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 important. Cloud is very mandatory for DevOps jobs. It is very 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 mandatory because as a DevOps, right, you must know um you must know the cloud. You must know how to operate the cloud platforms like AWS, like Amazon Web Services, like GCP, like which is called Google Cloud Platform, and Azure as well, right? That is owned by Microsoft. So these platforms are very 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 important. Though um, um, majorly DevOps engineers start with AWS. They start learning with AWS and then move to GCP and then they move to Azure. But it is very, very, very important to know the three. It is very, very important to know the three because whichever startup you're working for, they mostly use between these three for in their startup, for their project or whichever product they're working on. So it is very, very, very important. So in doing this, you can work on projects like deploying an app to EC2 instance, to or you can actually secure it with security group and so on. We have so many hands-on projects that involves cloud platforms, right? And the next one is um, infrastructure as a code. Infrastructure as code, that's IAC. And if you want to learn this, you can spend 2 weeks or less. It depends on how fast you are and how dedicated you are in learning, right? It depends on how dedicated you are in learning. So when you say infrastructure as code, right, this is where it separates the junior from senior DevOps engineer, because it helps you automate tasks on cloud and others, right? It helps you automate tasks. The time you're supposed to use to start clicking UI pages, start going to um, cloud platforms and others, right? You can do everything with Terraform. You can do everything with Terraform. So in this part, right, you must learn declarative infrastructure. You must learn state file. You must learn modules and others. And next one is just monitoring and logging. Monitoring and logging. So you can spend 1 to 2 weeks in learning this monitoring and logging, because it's very, very important as a DevOps engineer. It is very, very important. So in when you work with startup or in production, right? Production is useless without monitoring. Production is nothing without monitoring and logging. So it is very, very important. Startup or companies require these skills. It is a must as a DevOps engineer to know how to use these tools as well. So the tools we use is just Prometheus, and we use Prometheus, we use Grafana, we use CloudWatch as well, right? Which is these are just the three popular um, monitoring and logging tools that we use. So in this, you must learn, metrics and logs, right? You must learn how to study or how to monitor dashboard and alerts, right? So this is very, very, very important. So these are the roadmaps to DevOps. These are the roadmaps to to be a to be an absolute DevOps engineer. These are the roadmaps, which is very, very, very important. So once you learn all these things, then trust me, you can beat your chest and call yourself a DevOps engineer. And you can spend just within 5 to 6 months in learning this. And when you spend it, it will help you a lot, in your career. So in addition to this, I'm actually starting a course. I'm starting a course that's, you can see up here, DevOps from zero to hero course. It is absolutely free, which will start learning all these tools one after the other. And I will teach you, like I used to say, I will teach you like a day old baby. You will know everything, in its simplest form. You will know everything. I will break it down. I will make illustrations to you. We are going to do hands-on projects together. I will teach you properly, and you will know all these things without you know without any doubt. You will know this properly. So this is just the absolute DevOps roadmap. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.